Today's episode is called the Alamo. The Alamo. It's about how Doug and Tony help some people start a car rental company. Okay, I made that up. They're supposed to help an actor named Alan Moore get his career started, but when he rolled down the hill, Doug hit his face on a rock. He couldn't pronounce the man's name through the swelling, so it came out Alamo.
Close the gate! You men, take the west wall.
You all right?
I have a powerful headache, Tony. My head hit a rock.
Well, I was close. They landed outside the fort and only just escaped some Mexican soldiers when they slipped through the gates. It won't take long to figure out where they are.
Hold your fire! They're running! We've beaten them off!
No.
You have a fix on the year?
1836, but I don't have the month and the day.
And get on the computer. I want a list of every military action the Mexican army engaged in for the year 1836.
There was one major one that every school child still learned about in 1966 or 68 or whatever. Mexico had undergone a major change in government. Power was more centralized, the federal government made more and more of the laws, and Texas didn't like it. So they rebelled. The Mexicans didn't like that. So they went to war. Defeating the Texans at the Alamo was their one big victory. A little over a month later, the Texas armies crushed the Mexicans at San Jacinto to end that particular conflict. Their rallying cry, as you may know, was, "Remember the Alamo." Oh boy, did they. But that'll come later. Right now, our boys have to figure out how not to be part of the contingent that was wiped out that day.
Have them put with the rest of the wounded. You better get some rest.
That's Captain Rainerson. Before the day is out, he'll be a statistic in the history books. The lady acting as the nurse is his wife. Too bad their doctor was killed a few days earlier, and she's just about out of medical supplies. He assumes Doug and Tony are couriers bringing news of reinforcements. I wonder when was the last time he saw couriers dressed like that. They explain that they're basically lost.
What made the Mexicans back off?
Because they're not quite ready to take us yet. So they send half a dozen snipers at a time to pick our men off the wall. Send their cavalry to harass us. When we brace for their big assault, they withdraw.
Santa Anna's generals were smart. They knew the Texan supplies were limited, so they did little skirmishes like this to make them use up their ammunition and other materials. That's how a siege works. Once the defenders inside are worn down enough, you stage an all-out assault and take them down. In fact, when the assault came, it included a lot of cannon fire. The men inside would gather up the Mexican cannonballs and shoot them back at the invaders because their own supply was exhausted. It was clever, but they were 180 against 6,000. That pretty well tells the story. And if I may digress for a moment, as we watch the Mexican soldiers amass around the fort, more and more contingents coming in to prepare for the battle, it reminds me of the scene just before the end of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. If you don't know what I'm talking about, pause this video and go watch it. I'll wait.
Are you in command here, Captain?
You can take your pick of commanders. We got lots of them.
In other words, we're not sure who's ultimately in charge. As if to punctuate that statement, here comes one of them now.
Captain Rainerson,
Sir?
how many casualties?
One wounded, but he's pretty bad off.
You didn't report it.
Not yet, Colonel. It just happened.
Very well. But from now on, all casualties are to be reported directly to me, not to Colonel Boy.
That's Colonel Travis, who did ultimately end up in command. As you may be able to gather, he and the other prominent commander, Colonel Jim Bowie, have a difference of opinion. Bowie refused to recognize Travis as a superior officer. They put it to a vote and the men chose Bowie, which of course Travis couldn't accept. They ultimately worked out a joint command, but you can see how smoothly that's going. Doug is more concerned with getting out of there because today is the big day. The Mexicans raised a red flag, which meant take no prisoners. He doesn't want to be an unnamed victim of the slaughter.
It won't work, Tony. You know better than to try to change history.
You said yourself you're not sure of anything that happened here except the final massacre. If there's any chance we can get some of these guys out, I say we should take it.
But what if the colonel won't listen to you?
can't lose anything by trying.
You could get yourself arrested and locked up, maybe with a bop on the head to go with it. Tony never considers that possibility, even though it happens to him every time. But before it happens this time, let's meet Colonel Bowie.
They seem quiet enough for the moment, Colonel Boy.
A lull before the storm, Colonel. General Filisola's army moved into bivouac about an hour ago. And I won't be surprised if Diego's army moves in before too long.
I have given my word to hold this fort.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, Colonel, but I say we gotta take a good close look at this situation.
Jim Davis, no, not that Jim Davis, was already a veteran Western actor, and it was clear those parts came naturally to him. He wears that hat like he was born with it. His poor mother.
We will be reinforced.
From where?
San Felipe, Brazoria, the settlements of East Texas.
If they could get through, how many you think they could bring in? 20? 30?
Colonel, that'll be all of that.
I'm reminded of Jeremiah from last episode. You just quit talking that sense now, you hear? We got a cause. No, I won't do it again. Mrs. Rainerson is trying to get Colonel Bowie to send someone for medical supplies because she can't do anything for the wounded with what she has. He says, sorry, it's impossible, which it pretty well is. The Mexicans have the whole place surrounded. There's no good way for someone to slip out and go for help.
Colonel.
You will be safer if you stay below the wall, Mr.
Newman. Anthony Newman. Nobody's gonna be safe here much longer. This is the 6th of March. And sometime today, Santa Anna's gonna attack in force. Every man who remains here will die.
Travis wants to know how he knows this. Tony keeps pressing the way he usually does. 13 episodes and he hasn't figured out it doesn't work. He says, at least evacuate the wounded while you can.
Sentry, I want this man locked up in the storeroom. And see that he talks to no one.
Told you. And now it's time for Tony to be impossibly stupid. You're in a closed fort. Where do you expect to go? And of course he got Doug involved too. So now they're both locked up in the storeroom. Tony's idea went the way it usually does.
What happened?
He must have gotten another clip on the head.
My vision's all blurred. I can't hold my head up.
And Doug is seriously concussed. Tony starts calling for a doctor.
Open the door!
Go ahead, open it.
Captain, my friend is hurt. He needs a doctor.
Captain Rainerson explains the situation. He says there is a doctor in a nearby village who's friendly to us. Getting him and his medical supplies could be the difference between life and death for our wounded. But Travis won't allow it. He says the odds are 1,000 to 1 against someone getting through.
Look, I'll take those odds, Captain. Send me. Please let me go.
I couldn't do that directly. But if I were to be taken by surprise...
Gee, how could such a thing happen to an experienced military officer? I guess he let his guard down when he was checking on the sick man. These things happen.
No, I can't help you. You'll be on your own.
I'll manage. Call the guard in here.
Tony knocks the guard out and gives Doug his rifle. I think he would have done better to give Doug the pistol and take the rifle with him, but that's just me. Later, they'll let that man go, and as Doug recovers from his dizziness, the captain will help him barricade the door while acting as his hostage. Too bad Tony will find the worst possible way to escape, as usual.
Not a word, Colonel.
What do you want?
I want a horse and a way out of here. And you're gonna give me both.
I will give you neither, sir.
You men, stay where you are. Now you're gonna show me where you keep your horses, Colonel.
If you think I would not sacrifice my life to keep you from betraying our defenses to the enemy, you are sadly mistaken.
It didn't work. The idiot tries to run again. Tony gets over the wall, but Jim Bowie is in bad shape. The fall was hard enough that he knows he's bleeding internally, which is to say, he's dying. Jim Bowie was sidelined during the final battle, but the only records we have say it was from an illness of some kind, not a fall. The most reliable accounts say he died with his back against the wall, using both of his pistols and his famous knife to hold off the Mexicans as long as he could. It's about time he got a good knock on the head. Doug's been getting all of it. His head is starting to clear, and he's been telling the captain what's going to happen here.
And everyone in the fort, when the attack comes, will die. There's nothing that can be done about that?
No.
That's not true. The Mexican army did spare most all of the women and other non-combatants. Anybody who tried to resist died, but from what we know, they didn't kill quote-unquote civilians.
Raiders in.
You mustn't let them take you.
Are you in there?
Tell him I'm holding you hostage.
He's got a gun on me, Colonel.
Well, he's got a gun anyway.
You, sir. What is your name? Phillips.
Go around to the window and see if you can get a shot at him.
I hope one of them anticipated that move.
You try that again and I'll kill him!
That guy has never played a stealth game. You cock the rifle before you get to the window so he doesn't hear it and get out of the way, like that. That's Splinter Cell 101. For now, Doug holds the cards and he can keep things quiet until Tony gets back. If Tony gets back. He has his own problems.
You've been through my pockets. You know I don't have any money.
That's right. No money at all. But maybe you know how to get some money, eh?
What are you talking about?
You're a Texan, no? Somewhere an esposa, wife, and maybe a small rancho and horses, huh? Maybe she will be willing to pay for you.
He kidnaps people and either takes their money or holds them for ransom. If they can't come up with any money, he takes them to the local cops.
Take me to Dr. Armandez on the plaza. You take me there and you can have anything you want.
What do you think, amigo? That I don't know things, huh? He's on our side. And besides, he's very poor. Maybe you have somebody else, huh?
No, I have no one else.
Too bad, amigo.
Doug has been telling the captain how the fall of the Alamo will go. They wonder if Colonel Bowie might be able to talk some sense into Travis. Doug says, let's make a deal.
If I'd been the enemy, I would have destroyed your supplies and done more harm than a whole troop of cavalry. Get to the point. I want to talk to Colonel Bowie. If you'll give me your word as a gentleman that you'll take me to see him, I'll come out and surrender my weapon.
Granted. I give you my word on it.
And he does indeed take him to see Colonel Bowie.
We've given him laudanum against the pain.
What happened to him?
He was injured when your friend escaped. You've had your look, Mr. Phillips. The bargain has been satisfied.
Seize him!
Thing is, he had a lot of time to talk to the captain, and he included the detail that Bowie would be injured in a fall. So now the captain knows it's true. The fort is doomed. He's doomed. He has to get his wife out of there. In town, Captain Rodriguez is about what you'd expect.
Just a little more, mi capitan.
That's enough, Dr. Armendez. That's enough.
Very well, mi capitan.
Where'd you get this one, Garcia?
From the Alamo. I was on patrol.
The dust here is terrible. Gives me a sore throat and a short temper.
Tony isn't interested in that. He's interested in the doctor standing right there, the one he came to find.
Are you a courier?
No.
Then you must be a deserter. And your cause is a lost one. Therefore, you will not mind telling me where Travis has located the cannons.
It doesn't occur to him that there might be actual non-combatants in the area, people who have nothing to do with either side and just want it all to go away.
I'll make you a deal, Captain.
What kind of a deal?
There are wounded men in the Alamo. Men who are suffering. Men who will die without medical attention. My friend is one of them. You send Dr. Armandez there to help them, and I'll give you the information you want.
The captain laughs and sends the doctor off somewhere else. Tony says, "Can I look at that map on the wall?"
him down!
Someday that trick is going to work for him. He tries it at least once every episode. But today may be the day. One point for Tony. So far, so good. Okay, his back's turned. Nail him. What is he doing? He's giving himself away. That's what he's doing. Now his powder's wet, so his pistol won't fire. And Tony doesn't have the good sense to keep running.
Why don't you call for help? I'm not tied up now.
I'm going to die you back dead, amigo.
This will take a lot longer than it needs to because Tony keeps missing opportunities. Like that one. When he tumbled forward, it was the perfect time to bring that board down on his melon. Instead, Tony backs away and resets. I think he thinks he's fencing. Whatever he's thinking, eventually he defeats that guy, but as I said, it took way too long.
Senor! This way! Hurry!
As I mentioned, today may be the day his crazy stunt finally works, with a lot of help from an unexpected source. Doug is tied to a tree. The good news about that is the tree gives the control room an exact spatial location so they can get a solid lock on him. The attack will come at 5 o'clock. The general has decreed that if Doug is still in the Alamo at 4, they'll pull him out and worry about Tony later.
I don't know who you are, but I do know you don't belong with us. If I set you free, will you take my wife with you?
Has she agreed to go?
Not yet, but I can talk her into it. Now, if you believe what you told me before, you'll take her with you.
He thinks he can talk her into it, even though he just tried and she said she's not leaving his side. He's going to take Doug to where the two of them can slip out, which is going to make it really hard for the time tunnel to stay locked onto him.
Can you track him?
If he doesn't move too quickly. It's 3:59. We'll try to retrieve him exactly at the hour.
We may as well ask because we all know what's going to happen. Whom are they going to get by mistake?
What is this place? What am I doing here?
This is the time tunnel, Colonel. A project of the United States government.
Who are you?
I'm General Kirk. And this is Dr. McGregor and Dr. Swain.
Travis intercepted the captain and Doug. He may be wishing he hadn't done that. It causes hallucinations. General Kirk gives him a quick explanation, which of course he doesn't believe. He says, "You took me away from my post right before a battle. Send me back."
Not until you understand that the man you arrested, Phillips, yes, is a time traveler from our time, not yours. I want your word that you release him.
You have no right to give me orders.
Fine, then send yourself back. Oh, you don't know how? Isn't that a shame?
Your entire command will be wiped out within an hour.
Nonsense!
It's not nonsense. It's history. This is the year 1968. We know what's going to happen there.
I don't believe you.
The general says, "Show him, Ray." Yes, that was exactly what you think it was, and he just watched it.
There's no hope for my men. For me.
There is hope. Hope for Phillips. Hope that only you can give. Phillips need not die if you will let him go.
You have my word.
He says, but right now I have to be there with my men. Please send me back. The general says, just walk into the tunnel.
Sentry, find Captain Raiderson and the man with him, and have that man set free. Tell Captain Raiderson to report to his battery.
We see a lot of footage from the 1960 movie The Alamo cut in with massive destruction around our main players. We watch Captain Raiderson fall and see his wife crying over him. We watch Travis and Bowie both die. It's pretty awful. But true to his word, Travis had Doug freed before he fell.
Doug! Tony, you made it. Is there any chance of getting her out of here?
What does it look like, Doug? I mean, there's lots of big holes in the walls now, but there's a lot of traffic going through them.
Come on.
Come with us, man.
There's Dr. Amantes. He helped me escape. Doctor, can you help us get this woman out of here?
How? How can I?
Her husband was killed a minute ago. Do you want to see her die too?
Wait! Let her go. She's my nurse. Let her go.
And she is safe. And I'm confused. Why didn't the soldiers grab Doug and Tony? Maybe they were already invisible because that guy didn't see him disappear either. Or if he did, it wasn't a big deal to him.
Where are we? Could be anywhere. That sun up there's our immediate enemy. We've got to find cover. Let's get into those rocks. It'd be like a furnace on this desert.
It's shade. You said you needed to get out of the sun. I don't see the objection.
Well, maybe we can get to the mountains.
In this heat, we'd never make it.
Doug, if we stand here, we'll fry.
Come on, Tony, help me.
What are you doing?
We'll dig a couple of pits and lie in them till the sun goes down.
How is that better than going into the shade of the rocks? And besides, the sand is way too hot. Their hands can't take it.
Tony!
They don't look too friendly to me. Come on.
Stand still and put your hands up. Running makes you look guilty of something. You can't even tell who they are yet. They're too far away. I don't know why they always do this. And Tony always does that. He needs to work on that temper, assuming that bullet didn't already do it for him.